today by focusing on the 8 C's as defined by internal family systems. Internal family systems is a therapy that was developed by Richard Schwartz, and it helps us to be more clear on our own agency and on focusing on our own agency, which helps us to remain in our wisest, most centered space. So we could call these the 8 C's of self-leadership. And I want to be very clear when it comes to leadership that if you have not taken a role in leading yourself, there's no way that you can lead others with integrity. So absolutely above and beyond, leading yourself is a very, very vital stage of leadership. So the 8 C's of self-leadership. Number 1 is calm. It's feeling centered, peaceful, and grounded. If you're not feeling calm, then your nervous system is what we call dysregulated. And when you're dysregulated, your thinking actually drops into your limbic brain or even into the lower parts of your brain. And you don't have access to the highest, most wisest parts of your brain when you're thinking. Clarity is number 2. That's seeing situations clearly without distortion or confusion. Now that's really important, and especially in a day and an age where we can't always trust the information that's put out, whether that's information carried to us by others or published somewhere on the internet. We have to take responsibility for finding clarity and seeing clearly. So, in the case of the individual I was working with who was feeling frustrated about not getting a promotion, one of the things that helped her to see more clearly is thinking about things from her boss's perspective and actually finding out, what are the qualities that I need to embody to receive that promotion that I thought I needed. It's being very clear instead of confused. We would call confusion the opposite of that. There's a lot happening in our world right now that wants to keep us in confusion. And because when we're in confusion, then things are distorted. And that is a tactic that is used by people who don't have your best interest at heart. So if you're feeling confused about a situation, know that there's probably could be some manipulation, some intentional distortion going on. And it's your due diligence to do the research, to do what's needed to find clarity. Number 3 is compassion. Compassion goes 2 ways. Compassion is empathy that we extend to others, and it's also self-compassion that we extend inward. And for our conversation, I think both are important. Compassion is described as having warmth and understanding for yourself and others. And I think this is really important. When we're feeling in a space of overwhelm, one of the ways that we can ground ourselves to come back out of that space is by having compassion for ourselves. But many situations feel really difficult. They feel very challenging. They feel very scary. And being authentic about that is important. Is important. And then I think there's also the piece about compassion for others. How are situations in the world impacting other people? And I think compassion for others also means that we need to have a deep respect of life. If we are not respectful of all life, then we're going to be dismissive of the experience of other people. And that is something that causes us to be and see with distortion in the world. So a fundamental respect for other human beings. We could take this even further than that, a fundamental respect for all things that have life, plants, animals. That is part of compassion. The fourth C is confidence, trusting in yourself and your abilities. Now, when I talk to people in my coaching conversations about confidence, confidence is influenced by four things. It's influenced by your values, your skill set, your mindset, and how balanced you're showing up in the world. And if you are feeling a lack of confidence, you can actually cultivate more confidence by looking at your values, by looking at your skill set. Often, a skill set of clear communication means, we need to learn how to have a skill set for navigating conversations. And mindset. Mindset is all about how much of our thinking is used for self-sabotage and holding us back and doubt and second guessing, and how much is used for innovative, creative, forward-thinking action. And then balance is all about, maintaining that balance of our way of living. Courage is number 5. Courage is defined as facing challenges and fears with strength. I think our world today requires a lot of courage, and it takes courage to look at the things happening in the world, no matter what your perspective of them is. It takes courage to look at those honestly, and it takes courage not to be influenced by the loudest voice in the room. It takes courage to think independently. It takes courage to disagree. It takes courage to say, I don't think that's the best path. And it takes courage to stay true to our own inner values. Number 6 is creativity, thinking openly and generating new possibilities. This is where we have agency, right? In thinking about what is the action that we can do in this moment. And creativity invites us to stay in what we can control versus what we can't control. As I'm feeling a little overwhelmed myself with some of the things in the news media, and I'm working to sort out clearly what's truth and what's distortion, one of the things that I decided for myself is there's a lot about what's happening in the world today that I can't control. But I firmly believe that the events of the world today in part are happening because people have not fully healed trauma that is active within themselves. And one of the things I can do, one of the things I'm really great at doing, is helping people identify and heal trauma so that they can be in greater self-leadership and then greater leadership of others. So It doesn't do any good for me to get caught up in things that are out of my control, but I really can move into what's within my control. It's actually why I decided to record this video today, because it was within my control and my creativity to record this message for you today. Curiosity. Number 7 is curiosity, being open-minded and interested in learning. So curiosity means we have a flexible growth mindset mentality versus a closed mindset. A closed mindset points at other people and says, you're wrong, you're stupid, how can you be so dumb, you're mean, you're bad. And an open mindset says, I wonder why it is that my friend or my coworker sees things the way that they see things. And when we can move into conversations that are curious and open, and we can learn about the perspectives of other people, that doesn't mean you agree with those perspectives, but when you give other people the respect of being curious about why they see things the way they do, then you can enter into much more genuine and authentic conversation. So always put curiosity above defending your own perspective. And then number 8 is connectedness, a feeling of being deeply connected to yourself and others. I think this is really important in this world right now. That feeling of being connected to self, I think that's the most, above and beyond, the most important piece to start with. And if you've been through some crap in your life, if you feel like life has been a little bit chaotic, I imagine you also feel a little bit disconnected from who you truly are. And you might feel like you're operating more out of the conditioning, the defenses, the trauma, the stressful experiences you've had. You might feel like you're operating more out of defense of yourself than you are out of connection to yourself. And if that's the case, I would invite you that the way to move into greater connection with yourself is to look at those things inside of yourself with compassion and to find the right help in healing those things inside of you. Then you can move into a connection with yourself and clear connection with others. Having one safe person in the world to be connected with is one of the greatest strategies for emotional regulation and the feeling of safety. Did you know that a child who goes through very traumatic experiences, if they have one safe person that they can confide in and feel safe around, it mitigates, it eliminates that trauma from their brain. But when a child doesn't have a safe person to go to, that's when the events of their life imprint very deeply on them. And maybe even as adult, you feel like, as you're listening to me talk, like, I don't have a safe person in my life to go to and to be around. And that's a difficult feeling, right? And so in that case, I really encourage you to, one, again, seek what you need to do to create that connection with yourself, but also be getting support around creating safe connections with others. So that's what I have to share with you today on the 8 C's of self leadership